Everyone remembers Cleopatra and Mark Antony's love story. Almost nobody remembers the guy who was quietly playing chess the entire time and ended up owning the whole board. His name was Octavian, and by the end of this video, he's not Octavian anymore. He's the first emperor of Rome. If you watched the Cleopatra video, welcome to part 2. And if you didn't, hit follow now because this is the part where all that drama turns into an entire empire changing hands. Before he's anybody, Octavian is just Caesar's 18-year-old great-nephew, not his son, not a soldier, sickly, unimpressive, definitely not who anyone expected to inherit anything. And then Caesar is assassinated. And it turns out, in his will, he adopted Octavian as his son and heir. Overnight, a teenager nobody took seriously becomes the most dangerous name in Rome. Here's the part that gets skipped. Octavian and Mark Antony didn't start as enemies. They actually team up first, along with a third guy named Lepidus, to hunt down Caesar's assassins and split Rome between the three of them. It's called the Second Triumvirate. Basically a business partnership between three guys who all secretly think they should be the only one in charge. Spoiler, Lepidus does not make it to the end of the story. He gets pushed out early and basically disappears from history. So really, it comes down to two guys, and we already know how obsessed one of them was with Cleopatra. While Antony's off in Egypt in a full-blown situationship with Cleopatra, Octavian stays in Rome doing something way less glamorous but way more effective: PR. He starts spreading the idea that Antony's gone soft, that he's under Cleopatra's spell, that he's more loyal to an Egyptian queen than to Rome. Some of it's exaggerated, some of it isn't, but it works. And then Octavian pulls the nastiest move in the whole story. He gets his hands on Antony's will and reads it out loud to the entire Roman Senate. In it, Antony says he wants to be buried in Egypt next to Cleopatra. Not Rome. Egypt. To Roman citizens, that's basically a public confession that Antony's loyalty isn't to them anymore. The crowd turns on him instantly. So now it's not a rivalry anymore. It's officially war. Rome versus Antony and Cleopatra's combined forces. And it all comes down to one battle we already mentioned last time: Actium. At the Battle of Actium, Octavian's forces, led by his best general Agrippa, absolutely dismantle Antony and Cleopatra's navy. Cleopatra retreats early with her ships. Antony follows her instead of staying to fight, and just like that, the war is basically over before it even really started. It's one of the most one-sided turning points in ancient history. You already know how it ends for both of them from the last video. What you might not know is what happens right after, because Octavian doesn't just win the war, he wins the story. Here's the genius part. Octavian doesn't march into Rome and declare himself king. Romans hated the idea of kings. That's literally why Caesar got assassinated for looking too much like one. Instead, Octavian does something smarter. He hands power back to the Senate in a big public show. And the Senate, grateful and terrified, immediately hands it right back to him, along with a new title: Augustus, the revered one. He becomes the first Roman emperor without ever technically calling himself a king. He just quietly became the most powerful person who ever lived, while telling everyone he was restoring the Republic. He rules for over 40 years. Rome transforms from a chaotic, war-torn republic into a stable empire that lasts for centuries. The unimpressive 18-year-old nobody expected to survive his own inheritance ends up being the single most consequential ruler in Roman history. And he did it by being patient, being ruthless with information instead of swords, and letting everyone else destroy each other first. So here's the real lesson buried in this entire saga. The loudest, most dramatic people in the room aren't always the ones who win. Cleopatra and Antony had the bigger love story. But Octavian had the better long game. He let his rivals be the main characters right up until the moment it mattered. And then he was the only one left standing. If you watched both of these videos, you now know this entire saga better than most people who took an actual history class. Follow for more of this. We're doing ancient history like this every week. Comment which empire or scandal you want next. Alexander the Great's, or should we go full myth-busting mode? You choose. And if you missed part 1, how Cleopatra played 2 Roman power players before any of this happened. That's linked right here.